In this video tutorial, we are going to have a look at creating a mythic creature, which is a combination of different animal bodies. And we're going to use Adobe Photoshop photomontaging techniques to achieve this. Mythical creatures have appeared in various different cultures and mythologies, and a lot of them are combinations of different animal bodies. So we are going to attempt to create a creature that's a combination of a horse, a lion and a scorpion. And this is similar to a manticore, although a manticore would also have wings. It's important that you choose the image that will form the background and make sure that you get an entire animal body for that, because you're going to layer the other parts onto it. So you can see here I could use the scorpion. We don't have all of the lion, only part of the lion. So I'm going to use the horse as my main body. So having a look at this image, I'm going to load that up, right click and copy image. You could obviously search for your own body, animal bodies on the internet, or you could use the ones which are supplied here in today's lesson. I'm going to go to File and New. And this is quite a decent sized image, so about 1200 by 700-ish. So it should make a good image. And I'm going to go to Edit and Paste. And I'm just going to flatten that image so that that becomes my background layer. Okay, so the next thing I have to do then is to bring in the other body parts. And to do that, I'm going to make sure that I put them into their own separate layers and only take the parts that I need. So I'm going to load the scorpion image. So a nice scorpion tail there. Notice it's side onto the camera. That's going to help with applying it to the horse that we have. So I'm going to copy that image. Come back to Photoshop, File, New, click OK, and Edit, Paste. Okay, so I'm just going to start and take the lasso tool. I'm going to draw around the back of the tail here. Don't have to be very exact, I just want to make sure I get all the parts of that tail. And I'm going to go to Edit and Copy. Come back to this image here and Edit and Paste. And it's actually a reasonable size, although what I would want to do is to go into Image and, Edit rather, and Transform, and I want to flip that horizontally so that it's facing in the right direction. And I'm going to move that and place it pretty much where it would appear on the creature. I'm going back to the lesson. I'm going to take up this line. I'm going to edit and copy the image. Come back to Photoshop, File, New. I'm going to edit, paste that into place. And as before, I'm going to use the lasso tool. I'm going to make sure I go wide of the lion's head here, make sure I got it all in, including its mane. And I'm going to edit, copy, come back to my horse layer, edit, paste, and you can see this one's significantly larger than I'm looking for there. So again, I need to go to Edit and Transform. I'm going to try Free Transform this time. And I'm going to move it into position. I'm going to use the Shift key as I scale this down. So I want the head to be about the right kind of size. Still a little bit too big there. And the other thing I can do is I can move outside the bounding box and I can rotate it into position. So assuming that's about right, I'm going to tick that. Okay, so each layer is in roughly the right place here. What I now need to do is to start making some adjustments. I'm going to switch off the layers here, because actually what I want to do is to adjust this tail. So the tail is really going to be replaced by the scorpion's tail, so I don't want to have a horse tail as well. So I'm going to zoom in here to the area where the tail is, and see what I can do about removing this. Now the best way I can think of to remove this is to use the clone tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the sky here and Alt click to set a target, and then I'm just going to make sure I'm on the background layer. So I'm going to Alt click on part of the sky and then just paint over and remove that tail like so. And then when I get down to this bit, I've got a little bit of a problem because I've got land and sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this area here and I Alt click at the interface between the land and the sky, so where they meet the horizon. And then I'm going to come back over to this side here. And I'm just going to paint that into the same position. Making sure I don't go over the horse's leg. I can see that's quite nicely removed any sign of the horse's tail from that image. A little bit of a stump here. I'm going to Alt click and just paint a bit of sky to smooth out the rump. So if I go back to fit screen, switch on that layer again, and then all I need to do now is to remove the background from this image here. So I'm again going to just zoom in a little bit on this area, and what I'm going to do is for layer 2, which is where the tail is, I'm going to create a mask. So we have a little grey box with a white circle in it here, and that is a layer mask. And now if I use the brush to paint black onto here, I've got the wrong brush there, so I'm going to switch back into normal brush and take the size down. So as I click on here, you can see that it's removing things. If I switch to white and paint, it brings it back again. So using black and white, I can remove any parts here that I don't want. And I could use something like the magic wand tool to pick up all the grey areas there, and then switch back onto my brush, and I can quite happily brush without worrying about going over the black of the scorpion's tail, because I can't get to the bits that aren't actually selected. Back to the magic wand tool, click on and then shift click to add in these areas here, and then back to the brush tool and painting black over them to remove. Select, deselect, and then I can just tidy up any other little bits like so. If I choose the move tool and go edit, free transform, it does need a little bit of a twist to fit more neatly on there, but the size looks about right. and I can tick that to set that. So now moving on to the line layer. So I'm going to just zoom out a little bit. And then I want to make sure I've got layer 2 chosen, which is where the line is. And I am going to zoom in a little bit to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to apply to layer 2 a mask. So what I should be able to do now is to brush out with the black tool any bits I don't want. To help me with my selections, I can use the magic wand tool and pick up the bits that I don't really want. Shift key can add a few extra. And maybe around about here as well. Now that's a little bit close to bits that I might want to keep. So what I could do is go to Select, Modify, and Contract, and maybe contract it by a couple of pixels so that it just pulls it back from the areas where we've got some hair. Back to the brush tool, black chosen, and then I can just clear any of those off. Fairly rough because I've got a selection made. And then deselect, and then just pick up any of these extra ones. A little bit more careful now. Now, when it comes to the areas that are covering over the horse, one of the things I probably want to do here is to take down the size of the brush. So take it down to maybe 3 or 4 pixels. Let's try 5. But also change the opacity now from 100% down to maybe 50%. And then what I can do is I can just stroke out some of these areas here, and you'll see that I need 2 strokes to completely remove the colour. So what it will do is it will tend to blend. So I can take out all this body part here with a couple of strokes. But then blend in the colours a little bit better. And what we really want to do is just make sure there aren't any really obvious lines and edges. So you need to keep clicking on and off to try and change the opacity. Make sure you don't leave any hard edges on there. And if I then, just a bit there, and you can see I've just got a little bit of horse head here appearing, so I'm going to go to Move Tool, and then move that in there. And just to finish things off, if I hide that layer and use the Clone Stamp tool, I'm going to take some, you're going to go back to the background here, use the Alt key to set a target of sky, and then just for example remove that bit of ear, bit of sky here, remove that bit of hair, that bit of hair, and then when I switch back on, possibly a bit of hair to remove here as well. And that's looking like a better blend. And here we have it. Quick step out,